Cary Grant died last night in Davenport, Iowa, of a stroke. One film critic said he had the longest romantic reign in the short history of movies. Sandy Kenyon has this look at the film legend's career.
In 1966, Cary Grant walked away from Hollywood at the height of his fame to become a father. He turned down millions, moved to Beverly Hills, and dedicated himself to raising his daughter Jennifer. It seemed like the perfect story, until now. Jennifer Grant finally breaks her silence about growing up with one of Hollywood's biggest stars. What emerges is a disturbing portrait of control, manipulation, and a father's desperate need to create the perfect childhood he never had. This is the true story of how Cary Grant's obsession destroyed his relationship with his only daughter. Cary Grant was born as Archibald Alec Leach on January 18, 1904, in a small house in Bristol, England. His family was poor. His dad, Elias, worked as a clothing presser, earning barely enough to support them. His mom, Elsie, stayed at home but dreamed of becoming a seamstress. Life was tough. They often wore secondhand clothes and had to sell things just to buy food. Young Archie grew up moving from house to house because they couldn't afford to stay in one place for long. The most stable home they had was on Berkeley Road, and it was there that Archie found his love for performing. At just 4, he started learning piano and loved entertaining neighbors with little concerts. His mom noticed his talent and saved every penny to buy him tap shoes when he was 6. Archie loved them and would tap dance every night on the kitchen floor. Even though his family struggled, Archie had some happy moments. He remembered summer picnics in the woods and rare trips to the Bristol Hippodrome where he saw live shows. But everything changed when Archie was 9. One day, he came home from school and found his mom gone. His dad told him she had gone on a long holiday. That wasn't true. She had been sent to a mental asylum because of serious health problems. Archie didn't know the truth for over 20 years. This broke him. He started wetting the bed, struggled at school, and developed a stammer. But he didn't give up. Instead, he spent his time at the Hippodrome, helping backstage and dreaming of a different life. At 14, Archie's troubles at school got worse. He was caught in the girls' bathroom and expelled. Instead of feeling defeated, he went back to the Hippodrome, where he met Bob Pender, a comedy troupe leader. Pender saw potential in Archie and offered him a job. Archie joined the troupe and began training for long hours, learning stilt walking, comedy, and stage tricks. It was tough, but Archie was determined. His first performance didn't go well. He froze on stage and had to be carried off. But he kept practicing. Soon, he became known for daring stunts like juggling torches while walking on stilts. He even gave himself a fun stage name, Archie Leach, the rubber-legged wonder. When Archie was 16, the Pender troupe planned a tour in America, and he joined them. He sailed to New York City in 1920, dreaming of big opportunities. The trip changed his life. He performed with the troupe at the New York Hippodrome, the largest theater in the world, and the shows were a huge success. But when the tour ended, Archie decided to stay in America. He had almost no money, but he was determined to make it. To survive, he took odd jobs like walking on stilts at Coney Island and selling neckties. He even worked as an escort for rich women at fancy parties. While doing these jobs, Archie observed how wealthy people acted, talked, and dressed. He practiced these things himself, slowly building the charm and style that would later define Cary Grant. Archie's big break came in 1927, when he landed a small role in a Broadway musical. He worked hard and got more opportunities in theater. Slowly, people started noticing him. In 1931, after years of struggling in New York, Cary Grant decided to try his luck in Hollywood. He arrived in Los Angeles with nothing but his talent and determination. It didn't take long for Paramount Pictures to notice him. On December 7, 1931, he signed a 5-year contract with the studio. This was the start of his journey as a Hollywood actor. Around this time, Grant's life changed in another major way. He transformed from Archibald Leach into Cary Grant. Paramount executives thought his birth name didn't have the charm of a movie star. After some discussion, they chose Cary from his stage role in a Broadway play called Nicky, where he played Cary Lockwood. They paired it with Grant, a surname picked from a list of suggestions. Grant's early days in Hollywood were about learning and adapting. His first film role was in the 1932 comedy This Is the Night, where he played an Olympic javelin thrower. It was a small but noticeable role. He continued to appear in other minor parts, including a film with Marlene Dietrich called Blonde Venus in the same year. However, his big break came in 1933 with She Done Him Wrong, a daring comedy starring Mae West. In the film, Grant played Captain Cummings, a Salvation Army officer who caught the attention of Mae West's character, Lady Lou. The movie was a massive success, earning over $2 million at the box office, which was unheard of during the Great Depression. It not only saved Paramount Pictures from financial trouble, but also made Grant a star. Mae West even claimed she discovered him, though that was a bit of an exaggeration. The success of She Done Him Wrong quickly led to another film with Mae West called I'm No Angel, also released in 1933. This time, Grant's salary increased from $450 to $750 per week, a clear sign of his rising fame. These two films made him one of Hollywood's most exciting new actors, setting the foundation for his legendary career. In 1936, Grant shocked Hollywood by making a bold move. He decided to become a freelance actor, walking away from Paramount Pictures and the security of a steady paycheck. At the time, he was earning $3,500 per week, a huge amount during the Great Depression. But Grant was unhappy with the roles he was being offered and wanted more control over his career. When his contract expired on December 31st, 1936, he refused to renew it. Instead, he demanded the freedom to choose his own scripts and work with other studios. This decision was unheard of at the time. The studio system controlled everything, and no major star had ever gone freelance successfully. Many warned him he was ruining his career. Paramount's production chief even threatened him, saying, "You'll be finished. We'll see to it." But Grant believed in himself and took the risk. It didn't take long for his gamble to pay off. In 1937, he starred in Topper for Hal Roach Studios, proving he could succeed on his own terms. This daring move not only changed Grant's career, but also set a new standard for actor independence in Hollywood. In the late 1930s, he mastered the screwball comedy genre and reached the top of stardom. Two movies changed his life forever: The Awful Truth, 1937, and Bringing Up Baby, 1938. In The Awful Truth, Grant wasn't sure of himself. The director, Leo McCarey, improvised scenes, which made Grant nervous. He even wanted to quit the movie, thinking it would fail. But his nervous energy and quick humor turned out to be perfect for the role. The film became a huge success, earning him his first Oscar nomination. It also set the tone for the witty, charming characters he would become famous for. Grant's paycheck for the movie was $50,000, but after its success, he started earning $150,000 per film. The next year, Bringing Up Baby paired Cary Grant with Katharine Hepburn. He played a serious paleontologist whose life is turned upside down by Hepburn's wild heiress and her pet leopard, Baby. Directed by Howard Hawks, the movie didn't do well at first, but later it became a classic. One memorable moment is when Grant, wearing a woman's nightgown, jumps up and says, "I just went gay all of a sudden." This improvised line became one of the most famous in movie history. Though the movie failed at the box office, it proved Grant was a comedic genius. He could play both the serious character and the funny one in the same scene, something very few actors could do. Over time, movies like His Girl Friday, 1940, and Arsenic and Old Lace, 1944, solidified his title as the king of screwball comedies. Grant's work with Alfred Hitchcock brought him even more fame. Their first film together, Suspicion, 1941, was a bold choice for Grant, who was known mostly for comedies. In the film, he played a charming but possibly dangerous husband. The original ending revealed him as a murderer, but the studio changed it to protect Grant's image. The movie was a hit, and Joan Fontaine won an Oscar for her role. In Notorious, 1946, another Hitchcock masterpiece, Grant played an agent who sends Ingrid Bergman on a dangerous mission. The film's famous kiss between Grant and Bergman lasted over 2 minutes. To follow the rules at the time, which only allowed 3-second kisses, they kept breaking apart and then kissing again. The result was one of the most romantic scenes in movie history. In To Catch a Thief, 1955, Grant played a reformed thief alongside Grace Kelly in the glamorous French Riviera. Their chemistry lit up the screen, and the film's visuals won an Oscar for cinematography. Finally, in North by Northwest, 1959, Grant delivered one of his most iconic performances as Roger Thornhill, a man mistaken for a spy. The film featured unforgettable scenes, like the crop duster chase and the Mount Rushmore climax. Grant was 55, but still did many of his own stunts, proving his timeless appeal. Hitchcock admired Grant, once saying that while actors were like cattle, Grant was one of a kind. By the 1940s and 1950s, Cary Grant had become one of the most beloved and successful actors in Hollywood. Between 1937 and 1959, he starred in 27 hit films. In 1943, he became the highest-paid actor, earning $300,000 per movie, which would be millions today. His style, charm, and humor made him stand out. People loved his sophisticated looks, tailored suits, and unique accent that mixed British and American tones. Even critics admired him. Pauline Kael, a famous film critic, said people didn't watch Cary Grant to see a role. They watched to see what he would do next. Despite his success, Grant never won a competitive Oscar, which many see as a big oversight. He was nominated twice, but didn't win. In 1970, he received an honorary Oscar for his incredible contribution to film. His last movie, Walk, Don't Run, 1966, was a light-hearted film where he decided to gracefully step away from acting. He believed it was important to leave while still at his best. Meanwhile, Cary Grant's love life was full of ups and downs. His first marriage was with Virginia Cherrill. It started on February 9, 1934, but ended only 13 months later, on March 26, 1935. Their marriage was messy. They fought a lot, and Virginia even said Cary tried to strangle her during one argument. The divorce made big headlines, and Virginia walked away with $100,000, which was a huge amount of money back then. His second marriage was to Barbara Hutton, one of the richest women in the world. She had inherited the Woolworth fortune. They got married on July 8, 1942, and their relationship was nicknamed Cash and Cary. People thought Cary might want her money, but he insisted on signing a prenuptial agreement. He refused to take any of her wealth, wanting to stay financially independent. Their marriage didn't last long. They separated after just 3 months, but tried to fix things before finally divorcing on August 30th, 1945. Cary wasn't comfortable with Barbara's extravagant lifestyle. He grew up poor and couldn't relate to how freely she spent money. Even after their divorce, Cary stayed close to Barbara and helped her through tough times. He refused to take any money from her, which earned him respect from many people. Cary's third marriage was with actress Betsy Drake. They married on Christmas Day in 1949 and stayed together for 13 years. This was his longest marriage. They met on a ship, the Queen Mary, and fell in love quickly. During their marriage, Betsy introduced Cary to LSD therapy, which was very unusual at the time. Cary used LSD more than 100 times with medical supervision. He believed it helped him deal with his troubled childhood and made him feel more at peace. Betsy also had her own challenges, like surviving the sinking of the Andrea Doria ship in 1956. Despite everything, their marriage ended in 1962. Betsy later became a therapist, inspired by their experiments with LSD, and said she lost herself trying to make Cary happy. Cary's fourth marriage was with Diane Cannon. They married on July 22, 1965, when Cary was 61 and Diane was only 28. People talked a lot about the big age difference, but at first they seemed happy. They had a daughter, Jennifer, in 1966, and Cary was thrilled to be a father for the first time. However, the marriage turned sour quickly. Diane later said Cary was controlling and critical of her looks, clothes, and career. She also claimed he pressured her to try LSD, which caused frightening experiences for her. Their divorce in 1968 was messy, with accusations of abuse and a tough fight over custody of their daughter. Even though the split was bitter, they eventually managed to be civil for Jennifer's sake. Cary's last marriage brought him the happiness he had been looking for. He married Barbara Harris on April 11, 1981, when he was 77 years old. Barbara was much younger, 47 years younger in fact, but their relationship worked. They had met years earlier at a hotel where Barbara worked, and they took their time before getting married. This marriage was calm and stable. Cary spent his later years enjoying a quieter life, traveling with Barbara and staying out of the Hollywood spotlight. He also encouraged Barbara and his daughter Jennifer to have a close bond. Cary and Barbara stayed married until his death in 1986, and many people believed this was the happiest time of his life. Apart from that, rumors about his sexuality and relationship with fellow actor Randolph Scott followed him throughout his life and even after his death. Their close friendship and the way they lived together created a mystery that still fascinates people today. Grant and Scott met in 1932 while working on the movie Hot Saturday. They quickly became close friends and decided to live together. They shared a beach house in Santa Monica, nicknamed Bachelor Hall, for many years, from 1932 to 1944. During this time, both men got married and divorced several women, but their living arrangement stayed a topic of gossip in Hollywood. In 1933, publicity photos by Jerome Zerby showed Grant and Scott at home together, cooking, sunbathing, and even wearing matching pajamas. These photos were meant to attract female fans by showing their bachelor lifestyle, but over time, people began to see them as possible evidence of a deeper relationship. The rumors grew when Grant's first wife, Virginia Cherrill, moved into the beach house with them after they got married in 1934. This unusual arrangement didn't last long. Cherrill filed for divorce a few months later, claiming Grant was mentally cruel and uninterested in her romantically. Some even said Scott was so upset by Grant's marriage that he tried to take his own life, though this has never been proven. Both Grant and Scott always denied being romantically involved. Grant, in particular, strongly defended himself against these rumors. In 1980, He even sued comedian Chevy Chase for $10 million after Chase made a joke suggesting Grant was gay. The lawsuit was settled privately. Still, people close to them had different opinions. Richard Blackwell, who stayed with Grant and Scott for a while, said they were deeply and madly in love. Betty White, who worked with both actors, believed they were definitely a couple. Even when they stopped living together in 1944, their friendship stayed strong for the rest of their lives. In the 1970s, some people claimed to see them holding hands in a restaurant, hinting at their lifelong connection. Grant's daughter, Jennifer, has denied the rumors about her father's sexuality. She said that if he had been gay, she would have supported him fully. She also mentioned that Grant had many gay friends and saw nothing wrong with that. His ex-wife, Diane Cannon, shared a slightly different view. She said she never thought Grant was interested in men, but remembered a moment on a ship when he was very friendly with the captain. Another account came from Bill Royce, who worked as Grant's house sitter. Royce claimed Grant once admitted to him that his sexuality changed over time, starting as basically gay, then bisexual, and later straight. Grant reportedly compared sexuality to acting, saying it was like playing different roles instead of sticking to one character forever. In 1958, Cary Grant, one of Hollywood's biggest stars, began an unexpected journey to understand himself better. He was 54 years old and decided to try something very unusual at the time: LSD-assisted therapy. This decision changed his life in ways he couldn't imagine, and even influenced a bigger cultural shift. Grant had a troubled past. When he was just 11, his mother disappeared. He didn't find out until much later that his father had placed her in an asylum. This secret, combined with the pressure of always appearing perfect as a Hollywood star, made him seek help in an unconventional way. His third wife, actress Betsy Drake, introduced him to LSD therapy. Drake had already tried it and had good results, working with Dr. Mortimer Hartman at a clinic in Beverly Hills. Grant decided to give it a try. In 1958, he began weekly sessions where he would take a moderate dose of LSD-25, a powerful drug that affects the mind deeply. Each session lasted about 5 hours, and he worked closely with the doctor to explore his thoughts and memories. Grant continued these sessions for 4 years, from 1958 to 1961, during which he had about 100 sessions in total. At the same time, he was filming some of his most famous movies, like North by Northwest and Charade. Grant later said the therapy helped him face the painful parts of his past and understand himself better. He explained that he wanted to be free of the things that bothered him: his childhood trauma, his relationship with his parents, and even issues with his ex-wives. He didn't want to spend years in traditional therapy and felt LSD allowed him to make faster progress. What made Grant's story even more surprising was how open he was about it. In 1959, he talked to Look magazine about his experience and said, "At last, I am close to happiness." He even contacted Good Housekeeping magazine in 1960 to share more. He told them, "I want to tell the world about this. It has changed my life. Everyone's got to take it." Back then, talking about mental health was rare, and sharing details about an experimental drug was almost unheard of, especially for someone as famous as Grant. The sessions themselves were intense. Grant described having strange visions, including one where he saw himself as a giant penis launching off from Earth like a spaceship. Despite how bizarre some of the experiences were, he felt the therapy helped him. It allowed him to deal with emotional pain, control his drinking, and find peace with the unresolved issues from his childhood and personal life. In 1966, the same year Jennifer was born, Cary Grant shocked Hollywood by announcing his retirement from acting. He was at the top of his career, having starred in movies like North by Northwest and Charade. But Grant decided to leave it all behind to raise his daughter. He even turned down huge offers, like $1 million for one movie with Universal Studios. His last film, Walk, Don't Run, came out in 1966, and after that, he never acted again, not even in small roles or TV shows. Instead, he focused entirely on being a dad. He left his bachelor lifestyle in Hollywood and moved to a family-friendly home in Beverly Hills. Grant gave up glamorous parties for quiet nights, reading bedtime stories. He was often seen pushing Jennifer in her stroller or playing with her at the park. Unlike many other famous parents, Grant didn't rely on nannies. His own difficult childhood, growing up poor with an alcoholic father and a mother in an institution, made him want something better for Jennifer. He wanted her to have the stable and loving life he never had. Choosing fatherhood over fame showed how much he cared about giving his daughter a good life. Grant took fatherhood very seriously and was incredibly detailed about preserving Jennifer's childhood memories. From the moment she was born, he started recording everything about her life. He bought top-notch equipment to capture audio and video of her daily moments. He filmed Jennifer's first steps, recorded simple family conversations, and even tracked what she ate and how she slept. He kept written logs of milestones, like her first words, which were "good stuff," a phrase he loved. Grant saved everything, from Jennifer's drawings to schoolwork and even her baby teeth. He had a special climate-controlled vault built in their house to keep these items safe. His motivation for this came from losing his own childhood mementos during World War II bombings in Bristol, England. Grant didn't want Jennifer to miss out on having those connections to her early years. The archive he created was so big that it took Jennifer almost 20 years to go through everything after his death. This collection became the foundation for the memoir she wrote about him. In 2011, Jennifer published her book, Good Stuff, A Reminiscence of My Father, Cary Grant. It gave readers a rare look into the private life of one of Hollywood's most famous stars. Jennifer spent 5 years writing it and used the recordings, videos, and keepsakes her father had saved. The book revealed a different side of Grant, showing him as a regular, loving dad. He liked shopping at the Gap and wearing Levi's 501 jeans, far from the polished image people saw on screen. Jennifer shared personal stories, like how Grant would rent a house in her trick-or-treating neighborhood just to see her in costume, and how he waved at her school bus every morning. The book also addressed rumors about Grant's personal life, including questions about his sexuality, which Jennifer firmly denied. She shared how her father taught her important life lessons, like managing money and working hard, despite their privileged life. Cary Grant's life took an unexpected turn in 1968 when he became a director of the Fabergé Company. Surprisingly, he agreed to a modest salary of $15,000 a year, which was much less than his acting earnings. He accepted this job mostly for access to a private jet, allowing him to visit his daughter often. This showed his commitment to family, even as his career slowed down. In his later years, Grant began a new chapter with his one-man show, A Conversation with Cary Grant. From 1983 to 1986, he traveled to 36 cities, sharing stories and answering fans' questions. These shows gave people a rare, personal glimpse into his life. Tragically, during preparations for one of these shows in Davenport, Iowa, on November 29, 1986, he suffered a fatal stroke. Hours before his death, he had appeared at a fundraiser, even though he wasn't feeling well. The news of Grant's death on November 29, 1986, shocked Hollywood and his fans worldwide. His final moments were as dramatic as his film roles. While preparing for his show at the Adler Theater in Davenport, Grant felt unwell, but insisted on rehearsing. Later, in his hotel room at the Black Hawk Hotel, his condition worsened. His blood pressure reached a dangerous 210/130. But he refused to go to the hospital. Soon after, he slipped into a coma and was rushed to St. Luke's Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 11:22 p.m. The cause was a massive stroke. Grant's estate, valued between $60 and $80 million at the time, became a topic of public interest. Most of his fortune went to his wife, Barbara Harris, and his daughter, Jennifer Grant. His will, signed in 1974 and updated in 1984, included notable bequests. He left $100,000 to his bookkeeper, Joseph Marin, $50,000 to the Motion Picture Relief Fund, $25,000 to Variety Arts International, and $20,000 to the John Tracy Clinic for hearing-impaired children. 16 individuals and organizations also received sums between $10,000 and $25,000. Grant's friend Stanley E. Fox was tasked with distributing personal items, including his cars, jewelry, and clothes, to friends and his daughter. In keeping with his private nature, Grant requested no public funeral. His body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean, near the California coast he loved so much. Tributes poured in after his death, showing the deep respect and admiration he had earned. President Ronald Reagan, also a former actor, called him one of the brightest stars in Hollywood and praised his charm and elegance. Director Peter Bogdanovich declared him the most important actor in cinema history. Frank Sinatra, a close friend, described him as a gentleman, very private, and one of the finest actors of our time. Katharine Hepburn, who starred with him in films like The Philadelphia Story, said he was the best company you could ever have and embodied everything women dream of in a man. Alfred Hitchcock, who worked with Grant on 4 films, gave rare praise, calling Grant the only actor he ever loved. Even younger actors like Meryl Streep admired him. She said he set an unreachable standard of grace and charm. Grant's legacy endures. In 1999, the American Film Institute ranked him as the 2nd greatest male star of Hollywood's golden age, just behind Humphrey Bogart. Modern actors like George Clooney and Hugh Jackman often cite him as an inspiration, admiring his effortless charm and style. His influence extends beyond acting, especially in fashion. The Cary Grant look, with its perfectly tailored suits and timeless elegance, remains iconic. In 2020, luxury brand Oliver Peoples released sunglasses inspired by the pair Grant wore in North by Northwest. Decades after his passing, Cary Grant's legacy continues to shine, influencing not only cinema, but also culture and style around the world.